wow, what is my life? And forgot more lyrics, made up more lyrics, went home and cried, literally.
A lot of embarrassing things have happened to me, but one would be in college when I was walking past the boys rugby team and I was a little hungover and your girl had to choke in the bushes right in front of all of them.
The most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to me was when I was a flight attendant and I was serving a very important businessman a drink and I spilled it all over his lap.
When I was younger, I mistaked my dad's car. We were in a huge parking lot at Disney World and I mistaked my dad's car for another's car. So I got into a stranger's car and my dad just left. I guess he thought I was playing a game or I was hiding in the trunk. So I kind of just like went home with another family at Disney World.
When it comes to being embarrassed on Big Brother, I tend to be a little clumsy. So a few slip and falls here and there might be a little bit humorous, especially walking up and down the stairs to and from the HOH room.
There's a bunch of embarrassing. I just fall like in a huge party back in Brazil in the middle of Carnival. That was like lots of rich people and famous people. And I don't know, like I have like so many embarrassing stories that like I don't really care when it's embarrassing. I laugh at myself. So
every morning I take these little fiber pills, little capsules with powder in them. And so I took up going about my day, and later on during the day I burped up all this fiber powder and it just like coated the inside of my throat. I'm like hacking, I vomited, my body's just trying to get it all out. And I was just like really from like a little pill and I'm like hunched over the sink for like 20 minutes. It was so stupid and kind of embarrassing.
I don't really have an embarrassing story because everything that I do is so calculated and thought out. So I don't have a story where like I feel like I was super embarrassed. I get a lot of like secondhand embarrassment from people saying stupid things, but I don't actually have any like actual embarrassing stories for myself because everything I do, I think about every single move I make for like before I actually make it. And so I'm very thoughtful about everything.
You know, I don't really get embarrassed. Anything you try to throw my way, I kind of take in stride, but I will say the most embarrassing / disappointing thing that happened is that I tried to have a roast for myself for a birthday party a few years ago. And I was ready to get my feelings hurt. I was like, if you're my friend, you're gonna make me cry by the end of the night. I got to this party and not a single person had a roast written for me. They were all just fluffy, nice BS things to say. So maybe I am ready for Zingbot. I want Zingbot to hurt my feelings because I'm like 3-4 years overdue.
I would say the most embarrassing thing that ever happened to me was when I was getting ready to be crowned homecoming queen in high school. And I was walking out with my dad and we were on the football field and I didn't realize they had called my name. So my dad kind of like tugged along ahead of me because he heard it before me. And I ended up tripping and falling and hitting my face in the dirt. Oh my gosh, my light just went out. Hitting my face in the dirt. And then I had to get back up and then like mud all over my face, mud all over my dress, and then still accept a crown in front of like thousands of people that were in the stands.
No, like there's one story that was super embarrassing. I think it was when I was in the 3rd grade, and that's how far back it goes because I remember it very clearly. I was in class. It was math, which was one of my favorite subjects growing up. And the teacher was asking a question and wanted to, have students give a response. I was sitting next to my crush at the time in the class, and I jumped up to raise my hand and just let out like a huge fart. and that was probably the most embarrassing thing that I could remember because everybody heard it.
I guess I should get it out the way because it definitely may happen since we're going to be filmed 24/7. One day, people may or may not know I'm a bus operator in the south side of Chicago. And when I get really comfortable or get really relaxed, I suck my thumb. And one day I was at a light and I was sucking my thumb and I looked over and it was a kid in a car looking right at me like, what are you doing? You're grown. So just to get that look from a little kid to be like, what are you doing? Was just definitely embarrassing. And I don't know how long I had been doing it. So I don't know who else had even seen me, from my passengers to anybody else.
Yeah, when I was doing van life, one time I was on the George Washington Bridge, which is like, I think it connects New York City to the rest of New York. Huge, like millions of people every single day. And I remember while changing lanes, my van literally died, like taking up the entire intersection of the George Washington Bridge. And I swear to God, I held up 100,000 cars for like an hour and a half. So just hearing like all of New York City honking at me, I honestly thought I would rather have been dead than been in that specific situation. So that is probably the most embarrassing thing to ever happen to me. And I still think about that and I'm like, oh my God, that's the cringiest hour or two. It was like a never ending, like usually an embarrassing situation lasts like 1 minute. That was like a full 2 hours of the worst minute of my life every single second. So yeah, probably that.
This is pretty embarrassing. So I'm 29 years old and about a year ago, I moved back in with my parents. So I'm single, 29, I'm living with my parents. So whenever I go on dates, I basically just say that I have 2 elderly roommates. I don't tell them that they're my parents. Well, one evening, a girl was coming over. It was a little bit later at night. We had been talking for a while, and I specifically told her, call me when you get here and I will walk you into the basement apartment rather than knocking on the front door and meeting my parents. Well, she didn't take that advice, and I got a knock on my basement door, and it was my mom in her bathrobe walking my date into the basement apartment, and I was mortified. So that was pretty recent and pretty terrible.
Okay, is it bad that this is too easy? My most embarrassing moment was in high school. I was getting ready for homecoming and I had never gotten my nails or my, pedicure before, manicure before. So I went with a friend. And I was a cheerleader in high school, so I was fairly flexible. And I got my nails done and it came time to get my toes done. And I remember just feeling this sense of panic, like, oh my God, like, good thing I wore pants. How in the world am I gonna get my feet up on this little table so that they can paint my toes? But, I was a cheerleader, I was flexible, so I hike up my leg onto the manicure table and try to position my toes so that the lady can paint them. My friend looks at me like I just, did something unmentionable. And the lady's like, no, you'll go over to the recliner. We'll do your toes over there. And everyone was looking at me in the nail salon thinking, what is this girl doing? I don't like to get my nails done anymore after that experience, for sure.
So there is a very long list of embarrassing things that have happened to me. I might look smooth on the outside, maybe dress decently well, but it's hair gel, but something where I'm extremely clumsy. Something my family, they consider me like the Labrador of the family, the puppy, where, I just make everybody laugh, but I'm not really trying. So an embarrassing story, and the people that I work with love this story. So it was my first year of coaching, and I went out Thursday night, was Halloween, went out, had a good time, but I knew I had practice and had to coach and work in the morning. So I tried to be super responsible and Uber myself home at a reasonable time. This way I was good for work in the morning, had my phone, was ready to go. So I Ubered myself home, which was supposed to be only 10 minutes away. And I got to the Uber, actually fell asleep, and I Ubered myself about 2.5 hours away and slept there where I Ubered that night, just in a parking lot. Woke up that morning and realized that I still had, about 2 hours before practice started, but being so far away, I was not going to make it in time. So I had to show up to practice dressed up in my sailor's costume, change very quickly, and made it just as practice was, in the middle. And I thought people really didn't notice, but they definitely did.
I got a call from Legends in Concert in Las Vegas, which is like the highest you can go being a tribute artist or impersonator. Moved out there, lived in a hotel room. The next day they put me in the show and they're like, here's your 5 songs. You already studied them, right? And I'm like, yes. They're like, what about the finale? I was like, no, what is it? They show me a video. It's Viva Las Vegas. Obviously, if you portray Elvis, you should know Viva Las Vegas. But I came from a theater background, so being a tribute artist, Viva Las Vegas wasn't in my repertoire. Well, I had about 3 hours until the opening curtain happened, and rehearsed with the singers and dancers and musicians. and they're all pros. They've been doing it for years. I'm looking off my iPhone for the lyrics of Viva Las Vegas by Elvis Presley when I'm at the highest position you could go in Vegas at Legends in Concert as Elvis. I'm about to perform in about 3 hours, and these dancers and musicians are looking at me like, this is our new Elvis? Like, this guy who doesn't even know his own lyrics? Well, fast forward to opening curtain, we perform the set, we go to the finale, I go out there, and I forgot to include that there will be these beautiful dancers who are half-naked showgirls now. Earlier they're in sweatpants. So now I'm trying to like remember these lyrics. I'm making them up on the spot, hoping no Elvis fans really notice in Vegas, singing Viva Las Vegas. And these half-naked showgirls just circling around me. I'm like, wow, what is my life? And forgot more lyrics, made up more lyrics, went home and cried, literally.